Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. I am your host, Medusa Asadam, here to give Earth signs a general love reading for this week. Keep in mind, Earth signs, this is a general reading, so it may or may not resonate with you. And also, this reading will be timeless. I will be pulling energies from the past, present, and future, so just take it however it resonates, only if it resonates. Earth signs, if you're interested to see what the cards have in store for you this week, then definitely stay tuned. All right, Earth signs. So that is Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn energy. We're going to start off by pulling the external energies that may be affecting you by ways of people, places, or things. Situationships, relationships, partnerships, soloships, and although throughout the reading I may pull a particular zodiac sign, it may represent you, person of interest, timeline, or influence. So do check your houses if you're into that sort of thing. Make sure you read the description of the episode so you know everything you need to know. And keep in mind, I'm just a regular person who loves to pull cards and interpret it to the best of my ability, so don't ever feel obligated to listen to anything I say. Do your own research if you're into that sort of thing, okay? So let's get started. We got a special guest here, the Rainbow Hearts Tarot deck, okay? I haven't used this in a very long time, so I'm really excited to see how we work together, okay? So yes, let's see what we got here coming through for Earth signs this week. Affection, caring, consequences of loyalty is betrayed, changes, okay, a cycle complete, and the return to the beginning, stability through change. Ooh, for some, it could be some enchantment coming through here. So let's see, let's keep going. We need two more. I do feel a little bit of numbingness that's coming through. Oh my goodness, this card keeps coming out. I swear I'd be shuffling my cards. Okay, so we're dealing with some pride coming through. Alright, so let's see. We have here affection, generous energy taking the lead. We also have here a kind energy, feeling gracious, beautiful, great romantic, sweet, and dreamy. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. So I was talking about feeling a little bit of numbness coming through. I do feel like a particular kind of numbness in order to kind of like, the word enchantment comes to mind. Like it's really kind of like sticking out to me. But the kind of scenario that I'm getting here is when a person is trying to woo someone or is being wooed by someone. And it's kind of like getting a person to do things that are like outside of their character. What do we mean? Where it's like where a person feels like, oh, I would, like if on the outside looking in, if it was someone else, or it's like, oh, I would never put myself in that position or whatever the case may be. Okay. I feel like for some, it could be a little bit worrisome when it comes down to trying to focus on caring. And I just finished doing Capricorn's reading, and one of the scenarios that I had pulled through, and it's coming through here again, it's like when a person decides to take a person back or be with someone or whatever, and the person does them wrong or something like that, and then they utilize that as some kind of leverage or some kind of manipulation tool. Okay, where it's just like, oh, well, you did this to me, and so therefore you can make no more mistakes for the rest of the duration of our relationship, right? It's like you can't do no wrong, never, ever, ever, right? Because if you do, then that's it, right? And I was also using the kind of another scenario where it's just like when it comes down to siblings, particularly in like TV shows or something like that, or sitcoms. Whereas like the younger sibling or the older sibling does something to the younger or older sibling, they get injured or whatever the case may be. And so they're like, oh, like you need to do whatever I say, whatever the case may be, and make my food and do my homework or whatever. And if you don't do this, I'm going to tell mom and dad that you did this. Right. So using that to kind of like get a person to do whatever it is that they want them to do or whatever they tell them to do. Okay, now it doesn't necessarily have to be the same person kind of scenario. It could be like a situation where it's like someone may have endured something in the past, and so they can in a lot of ways like utilize those past experiences to kind of like maneuver through present experiences and potentially future experiences, right? And so that could be a thing here as well. But I feel like it's this energy of kind of like leaning on affection and caring, okay, and being generous, okay, and I feel like this energy of like an offering of like saying a prayer or whatever the case may be, and then just trusting that the prayers will reach, you know, whoever it is that you worship or deem as the divine, right? It's like those prayers will reach them, that message will reach them, and things will work accordingly, okay? Sometimes like we kind of like we kind of wish upon a star, right? But then it's like we still want to get, you know, jump ahead, get ahead, you know, get control over things, right? Where it's just like, well, how does that work, right? It's like, just in case if they didn't hear my prayers, I'm just gonna hop on and control the situation, just in case. So let's see here. Let's get into the tarot. Let's see what's going on. What? Ooh. And it always falls. It always falls. The Two of Wands here. Decisions, decisions, decisions. But here's the thing. It doesn't feel like a person is making decisions based off of everything that they've gathered, right? Everything that they've come to understand. Okay? It really feels like they're leaning on their own understanding and they're making a decision based off of that. Okay? Let's see here. It's very much like close to the chest. Very much like, okay, right? Like it's very much like in that sense. There's no need, like it feels like there's no need to kind of like look, like, you know, like kind of like see it from different perspectives or see it from a further point of view where like we can kind of like gather all of the information, right? See from all sides, from all angles, that kind of thing. But it's just more so feels personal. It also feels like not even taking into account another side of the story, or taking into account to incorporate another side of the story. So let's see. We have the High Priestess here in the reverse. So what could potentially be being ignored is like our higher selves, our intuition, right? With this High Priestess here, it's very much along the lines of very much loquacious energy, right? Where it's just like a person is constantly like talking and ignoring, right, their inner dialogue. Okay. And I'm trying to think of a scenario to kind of like think of it like it's like when like a person is arguing or whatever the case may be, or a person has some kind of like inkling or some kind of feeling or whatever, and instead of them like kind of like taking some time out to like really like see if that feeling is coming from like pride or ego or her emotions or whatever the case may be, or like whatever is being produced from an uncomfortable kind of feeling or scenario being perceived, okay, it's this energy here where it's just like, no, I'm just gonna trust in that and just go for the gusto kind of thing. Are you cheating on me? Right? Where it's just like, hang on a second, like let me just take into account, how am I feeling? Am I moody today? Am I feeling insecure? Did I wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Did I not do my wusa, you know, my namyo renge kyo, or whatever the case may be, where it's like, did I is this something that I'm going through right now, right? And I feel like that's the energy I'm getting here, especially with this Ten of Swords, right? Where it's like, is my shadow coming through, and is it is it causing me to turn into the Scarlet Witch, right? Like, like, am I acting out of character? I don't know if I said this with Capricorn or here. I was like, am I acting out of character because it's whatever it is that I'm dealing with or going through? And I feel like with this King of Swords here, it's also giving me that energy here where it's very much along the lines of trying to make decisions based off of scenarios that may feel like it's like a festering of some sort. Okay, like a person kind of like blooms from that, right? Like a person kind of like dwells in that. Okay, we have here the 5 of Swords, the 7 of Swords. Okay, look. So did I say, okay, so King of Swords, Aquarius energy coming through. So it really feels like a judgment of some sort where it's just like, I know, like you can't, like, how can I say this? You can't trust these people. You can't trust that person. You can't trust that group. You can't trust that whatever. Like, it really feels judgmental here with this King of Swords. And it's very much along the lines of like understanding that this is something that is not necessarily, like, it feels overwhelming in that sense. It feels really crowded. It feels very much that way. But it becomes a kind of new way of living kind of thing, right? So it's kind of like when a person, like, what's that movie? Shaun of the Dead, where Shaun's friend, and I say Shaun because that's what they said, Shaun, but Shaun's friend got bit, right? He turns into a zombie, but Shaun left his friend in the shed, and he was still able to live with his friend. Now, when you think about it, it's making that virus, that parasite, if you will, it's making it comfortable, right? So I've heard before in videos where they say, like, we all have parasites, right? And sometimes the parasites, if we're not doing cleanses or detoxes, right, some parasites can get out of control and they start to manipulate or like take control of a person's mind by getting them to do certain things, which is pretty scary if you ask me. Now, from what I've heard, parasites can kind of take over the mind in the ways of cravings, right? So it's like, are you really craving that junk food, or is it the parasite kind of thing? Now, if I don't know if it's true, you know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but I've heard, and this is the energy that I'm getting with this situation. I'm not claiming that this is the case, okay? But I'm saying that it's allegorical, all right? So let's the meaning behind what it is that I'm saying, right? So take the parasite as a negative, leeching kind of toxic, problematic, whatever words you guys want to use, right? Thing, right? That kind of controls a person to do certain things, and that person appeases that, right, by giving it what it wants, and it's not getting rid of said parasite, quote unquote, right? It's just making the living environment comfortable, right? And so we can take this as the ego, right? Some people think that you can kill off the ego, but as long as you're a human and as long as you're having the human experience, right, the ego will continue, like, will forever exist, right? And so in order to accommodate, right, because it's like we're both having to live in this body and have to have this experience, right? So how can we live amongst each other, right? How can we coexist? Oftentimes we fall into the category of appeasing the ego so much so, right? That we become ego driven or ego based beings. And so what do I mean by that? Another scenario is like when we're heavily invested in the matrix, when we're heavily invested in our survival in the matrix, right? Our success in the matrix. Now, there's a part of us who recognizes, and this is usually within the King of Swords, right? The knight, right? The king, right? Who is able to wield the sword, where they are very much above that. They understand that they dwell here, but this is not home. This is not all that there is. Okay. There is the afterlife, some may call it. There is home. There is wherever, right? There is the eternal life, right? There's source, whatever it is you want to call it. So there's a level of understanding that there is a higher sense of being and awareness that goes beyond the five senses, right? Which is usually the fifth sense is where it stops for, just the human condition. The King of Swords is very much spiritually equipped, spiritually knowledgeable, spiritually connected, and they understand that they are a spiritual being having a human experience for the sake of experiencing, right? The human experience, and that alone. And so they're able to do the things that they need to do and not necessarily be so much heavily invested in the accolades and they're not heavily invested, right, in the actual like human condition, right? And so, for example, it's like money, cars, clothes, right? Like buttons, those kinds of things, where it's just like these things, they're nice, but they're not actual, like it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, right? And so, yeah, but I feel like with this Nine of Swords is very much like, also too, another example that's coming through right now is like when the house kind of like gets a little funky, right? And in order to mask that, they spray perfume right around the house to kind of like coat over that funkiness. And so, yeah, I feel like with this Five of Swords is very much along the lines of pride. And it's this understanding, right, that some of our actions have consequences. Well, all of our actions have consequences, right? Just through the rule of cause and effect, right? Every cause has an effect. You can link that also to karma as well, right? That's considered the same thing, right? And I feel like a lot of times what this does, right, the effect of these particular causes, like I'm saying, is only just kind of like building, right, more parasites, or just building heavily or investing heavily in the ego only, right? And so a person gets really, really just like in the thick, right, of the human capacity or the human condition. And so I feel like that could be a consequence for some. Let's get into the challenge. The challenge here is the Five of Wands, right? Where it's just like, I keep getting into these situations where it's like, I have to work harder, or I have to, it has to be such like physical demands, right? Where it's just like an excursion kind of thing, where it's like it's burning out like a lot of energy, right? And like it feels like a kind of situation where it's just like constantly having to participate in things that don't necessarily, like, the person doesn't necessarily really want to constantly be involved in, because it just feels like a bunch of pushback. It just feels like a bunch of exerting a lot of energy, okay, where a person can be able to utilize that energy in a more professional or in a more conducive way, right? And so it's like, why do I have to why do I find myself constantly keep using this energy to do X, Y, and Z when I could utilize this same energy to do A, B, and C? Like, it feels like that. It's like precious energy, precious opportunities being wasted on just like things that don't necessarily really contribute to the positive, like the development. I feel like to a particular development. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So we overcome with this Eight of Cups. Okay, so it really feels like calling in, like calling it in or something like that, and kind of having to. For some, it could be giving up. For some, it could be calling it quits. For some, it could be like having to retreat. Okay. It really feels like dealing with difficult situations and just feeling like I don't have the proper solutions. And so I need to take some time off, get away, and kind of like really unpack the situation and get some like divine inspiration or divine word or whatever. It's kind of like when Moses was dealing with the people and they were like acting kind of cray. They was like really impatient and asking him a lot of questions, and so he had to take some time apart to really kind of like gather himself, right? Like it kind of feels like that, where it's just like, okay, like I have to go back to the drawing board, figure out how to deal with this new situation now. It's like it's constantly having to deal with situations where it's just like, okay, we dealt with this, we overcame it. Now we're dealing with this, we overcame that. Or I got to figure out how to overcome it. And it's like, when does it end, right? When do we reach the promised land, right? Where it's just like, where all our worries, it just get washed away, and we could just live free and in the wild kind of thing, right? And so it's even like, it's giving me the vibes of the what is that? Something Before Time with the dinosaurs. What is that movie? Oh man, I hate when I kind of get like these, I kind of get spacey. Something Before Time. Land Before Time. I was about to start looking it up because I'm like, wait, what's going on? But yeah, the Land Before Time. It kind of feels like that, where it's like those poor young dinosaurs were like they were trying to get to their version of the promised land and reunite back with their family, but they kept reaching like these different like scenarios that were coming across as obstacles, and it was like tests after tests. I said tests, sorry, but tests as after tests, roadblocks, cliffhangers, like these kinds of things where it's just like, it took like, I don't know how many like movies, but it took a whole franchise for them to get to their version of the promised land, where it's just like, man, when does it end? Okay. So let's see here. We're dealing with the what? So Page of Wands, that is Leo energy, Ace of Cups, Six of Cups, y'all almost forgot we were doing a love reading, but I remembered when I saw the Six of Cups. So, like, it really feels like here with this Page of Wands, Ace of Cups, Six of Cups, Ace of Wands, it really feels like a person is very much along the lines of feeling very confident that whatever it is that they say, or however it is that, whatever it is they do in regards to calling the shots, they're very much more so in tune with stirring the direction or the trajectory of the relationship. And so it's like, okay, I'm the leader, right? Where it's just like, no, I'm the leader. No, I'm the leader. You're going to do what I say. I know the way to the Emerald City, or whatever the case may be, where it's just like, I can get you there or whatever. Where it's like, no, it's a group effort, right? It's a group effort. Even if a person feels like they're more spiritually inclined than the next, right? Or, like emotionally mature or whatever, it's still understanding and incorporating the other side of the coin, right? The other perspective of the relationship. And we, kind of brings us back, right? Again, to the beginning with that Two of Wands. And so it's this understanding here where it's like, hang on, it's not just like that, like close up, right? Like perspective where it pretty much kind of like takes other perspectives out of you, right? Out of focus, right? Like imagine like looking at something, close, and our eyes, right? Our vision picks up on, what it's able to perceive, but then everything else is just kind of like out of focus. But if we move back, right, we're able to see things in its entirety, right? So it's this energy here of back up. Like it kind of feels like that, like back up, just back up. Like I love the enthusiasm, right? But it's a team effort, right? It's a giving and receiving kind of thing. And I feel like here with this Six of Cups, it's this energy of working together, right? We both can share this, right? It's like with kids where they have a toy. It's like with the Daniel Tiger situation where like they were fussing and fighting over something, and the teacher had to tell them that, it's okay to share, right? It's okay to share. It's okay to take your turn and all that stuff like that. I don't remember the song, but it's definitely giving me the vibes of when they were like looking through the scope, the telescope, not the telescope, the stethoscope. I think is it called the stethoscope? But they were looking at whatever kind of scope to look at different objects, to get a closer perspective on the objects and stuff like that. And I think Daniel and Katarina, no, not Katarina, it was someone else. But yeah, the one who wears her clothes backwards and she has those cute puffs. But they were arguing over like who can go and who can do what, and then the teacher had to come and say like, it's okay to take your turn. And so when we're talking about relationships here, it's understanding that we're not in the relationship with ourselves, right? Like we're in a relationship with not just ourselves, but we're in the relationship with our partner. And so it's this energy of incorporating that partner and participating within the relationship. So it's not so one-sided. Okay. And also too, even when we're talking about ourselves in regards to interacting and experiencing the relationship with another person, it's also too incorporating, right, those aspects of ourselves where it's just like, okay, where am I coming from? Before I even engage, like, where is this coming from? Is this accurate? Is this coming from my ego? Is this coming from my pride? Am I too heavily invested in the situation? Let me tone it down a little bit. Let me back up a little bit and get more centered, right? So that I'm not coming across as biased, or I'm not coming across as I only want to see it this way and not the other. Like if I feel like this person is cheating, let me make sure I know this for sure, and this not coming from insecurities before I make this accusation, right? It's like, let me have the facts. Let me know for sure, right? And it's like, if I feel like I'm going to lead the relationship, if I'm like in that position where I feel like I need to lead the relationship. And sometimes these things happen where it's like some partners are in that category of being submissive or being okay with being dominated or whatever the case may be. Right. And so it's like, if I'm going to take that space of being the ringleader or being in control of the relationship, let me make sure I'm in the position to be a great provider, lover, communicator, teacher, friend, confidant, whatever, right? Because sometimes we want to raise our hands and say that we want to be the class leader, and then we just being me, right? There's favoritism. I'm gonna let my best friend get all the good crayons and I'm the one that I don't like, I'm gonna make sure that they have a little bit of a hard time, right? Where it's just like, we can't do that. And I know I'm talking about it in the sense of like a group, right? Like a class or whatever, but just, we can condense that to an individual, right? Where it's just like, okay, I'm going to accept this person in all its glory and flaws. And I'm not going to play favoritism where it's like, oh, I'm going to wash, my clothes and the kids' clothes with all the good fragrances and detergents and fabric softeners and all that stuff like that. But when it comes down to my spouse, I'm gonna just give them, one cap and leave it at that, right? Where it's like, I'm gonna I'm gonna take all the good, I'm gonna have the good, like, soft and savory and flavorful, like, plates. But when it comes down to my partner, like, I'm gonna make sure it's like, I'm gonna just stick it in the oven and tell them to eat it, it's there, or whatever the case may be, right? It kind of feels like that, where it's just like, okay, we don't gotta do all that, right? But yes, let's see here. Let's get into the past. Because, like, and then you wonder why, like, there's always these issues. There's always these pitfalls. Because it's like, look at the, even if that person isn't aware that treatment is being done, it's the energy. It's the energy that's being applied to it, right? Okay. So, yeah, like, it kind of feels like, remember we were talking about the stench in the house, right? And then just masking it with perfume, right? It's like, oh, like, the stench could be a representation of the negative energy that's being applied, right? Or being, that's being, geared towards that person. Okay. And deciding to mask it with, oh, there's nothing wrong. Oh, like, how was your day, or whatever the case may be, right? And so in the past here, we have here the Four of Cups here in the reverse. Okay. In the reverse, Knight of Wands, the Star. So it looks like a person did not say sorry. They didn't say sorry when a person needed to apologize. Okay. The Star card, Aquarius energy. Or dealing with a person who doesn't know, like, when they do things that are, like, not okay, right? So it's kind of like, once again, like when we talk about children, right? And it's really, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that, but sometimes, we as adults, we still haven't matured, right? And we can be immature in a lot of ways. It's kind of like when children don't know how to handle, right? Or how to be gentle, or how to ask, or how to be considerate of other people, right? It feels like that. Whereas, like, a person, it could be dealing with a person or dealing with a situation or scenario where a person is I always have a difficulty with that word, unapologetically, right? Act like, how can I say this? The way that they act, the things that they do, okay, they're not able to say sorry or feel apologetic or express, okay, or express. So they may feel bad and guilty and stuff like that, but they don't necessarily know how to say that in writing or say that verbally. And so a person may feel as if a person's actions, the things that they do, they, in some way, shape, or form, is a reflection of how much they don't, or how much little they care about their significant other. It feels like. But a person is very much in that space of feeling, it's like, oh, it's like that's unforgivable kind of thing. And so they kind of like move accordingly to that. Okay. And so they, for some, they could be doing things to spite a person. right? So let's see here. Heart space in the upside down. We have the Eight of Wands. So communication could be a particular difficulty. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep going. There's a lot of cards that came through. So communication could be an issue here. The energy exchange could be an issue here. We have the Lovers here in the heart space in the upside down. Gemini energy. Okay, that also deals with communication as well. Okay. The Eight of Wands was coming to mind as well. Transmute. Or, no, not transmute. Well, yeah, but transportation more so. And it's the kind of transportation where it's like being able to transport from one phase into the next, right? So we were talking about that change, right? When it comes down to completing a cycle, right? And so it's like, okay, we're entering into the next phase. We're entering into the next age or aeon or whatever, the next year or whatever, the next cycle within our relationship, right? Within this interaction. But it's a difficulty, right? Where it's like, how can we get ourselves into the next phase? Okay. And for some, it could be communication that could be a difficulty, or the ability to believe that things can change, right? And things can like, you know, things can work itself out. Okay. But even if it's like beyond the relationship, a person just has like their inability to believe that things can get better, right? Things can come back together. Things can be back on one accord, right? And be a smooth kind of thing. Like it kind of feels like a far-fetched kind of situation. It does feel like an energy where someone is kind of left behind, right? It's this energy of like, oh, I believe in second chances. I believe in forgiveness. But the actions that follow, right, follow through with the act of having to do those things. That could be hard to obtain. The heart space in the upright, we have the Ace of Swords, Page of Cups. Yeah, very much forgiving, right? It's a difficulty here. It's a difficulty. And also, too, it's a difficulty in being able to express our emotions in a way that is spiritually connected and spiritually mature. And so what does that mean? So like the energy that I'm getting, it's like when a person is trying to express themselves, is coming from a butthurt kind of feeling where it's like a person makes me uncomfortable, and so I need to express my sadness or my tears, right, from that space. But when we're more so spiritually connected, it's coming from a place of compassion and understanding in the human condition just in itself, right? Where it's like we take into consideration, we factor in our upbringings, our environments, right? Our different experiences, right? And all of these things we take into account, and then we understand from a compassionate space that, no harm, no foul kind of thing. Even if a person was hurt in the situation, it's understanding that, if you were to understand a child, like that child just needs to be taught how to play with others or how to share or whatever the case may be. And it's not coming from the standpoint of I must do it. No, it's coming from a space of like, I understand. And so I get it. And so I'm going to lead by example. Remember, we had to take the lead. I'm going to lead by example, and I'm going to live out, right, the kind of example that I'm trying to relay to the person, right? And so one of the things that made it difficult for me to really get connected with Christianity was because my mom would take me to church. The pastor would say a couple of verses, and she will use that as a way to discipline me. Okay. Or it's like, this is, the Bible said you got to da-da-da-da-da. But then she wasn't doing it. So I was like, well, why is it that I have to do it, but you don't? So it was like it doesn't make any sense. And so it's like that, where it's just like, okay, I'm going to lead by example. So it's like, I'm going to create a space where trust can be enabled, right? I'm going to create a space where communication is open, right? It's available, right? We can't sit here and like be in the same space and we're constantly on our phones or we're constantly on social media. We're not opening that floor to that, or we're not engaging with our partners and asking questions and doing all those things. And it's not from that interrogative kind of standpoint where it's just like, so what were you doing today? Like, where were you? And da 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 da. And who was that, or whatever the case may be. It's just, trusting. Like, what more can you do, right? Like, it's like if you find out, you find out, and then you can proceed moving forward. But it's like all these accusations, my goodness, why are you doing this? You're just making things difficult, right? And I feel like that's what this Ace of Swords here, where it's just like, listen, okay, like, let's just understand here that we can do right. We can live righteously. We can, whatever. I'm sorry. I keep getting spacey. Oh man. But yes, let's get into the future here. Let's get into the future. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run and hide or forget you. Never gonna say goodbye. Sorry. Okay, I was just trying to pull these cards. So we have here, all right, so the Four of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles, Capricorn energy coming through. We have the Queen of Wands, Sagittarius energy coming through, and the Magician. Okay, so I feel like with the Page of Pentacles here, it's more so along the lines of being more incorporative, okay, rather than the Page of Wands. Like, the Page of Wands, love the Page of Wands. It's an amazing page, right? But it's very much along the lines of me kind of thing, right? It's very much me based. But the Page of Pentacles is more so along the lines of like working with the environment, right? And it's in a way that incorporates the environment and can potentially make the environment more flourishing, right? More benefiting and all that stuff like that. Okay, Capricorn is all about like success, right? And I feel like when it comes down to this is being able to plant the right seeds in order to bear fruit to the really successful, like bear fruit successfully. Gee willikers. Okay, and so we have the Four of Pentacles, and it's very much along the lines of being able to utilize what you have, right, in order to make do, right, for the better. We have the Queen of Wands. Okay, I feel like when we kind of work with what we have, and kind of understand from that space, okay, and it's not coming from a space of like conjuring up like any just any extra curriculum like activity type of stuff, like extra like bits and bobs where it's like, but is this like what's really going on, or is this a figment of our imagination here, right? We are met with the Queen of Wands, okay? And the Queen of Wands really feels like, if we're talking about self-accountability here, it seems like a very confident card. It's a very influential card. It's a very much like energy that is able to move the crowd, sway the crowd. Like, it really feels like a replenishment, like a reset, right? It really feels like, it's like, yeah, like it kind of feels like champion and getting ahead of just a kind of change, right? That brings forth a new kind of way of living. And this kind of way of living, I feel like, is very much along the lines of being able to experiment here with this Magician. Okay, where a person kind of like feels like they're in their element and they can very much incorporate all that they have and really just make do, right? Like it's like make do. Okay. Yeah. How can I say this? Like I feel like it's at the tip of my tongue. I hope I'm making sense here. It's kind of a situation where it's like a person doesn't have to go to the store or buy anything else. Like they can use what they have, right? Yeah, Queen of Cups. Yeah, they can use what they have. Ooh, King of Cups at the bottom. Wow. Lovers for sure. Yeah, and look what happens. The Queen of Cups comes out first. And so it's a kind of rulership where, well, you see it like in Black Panther, and you know, the way our ancestors kind of had that matriarchal kind of rule, right? I guess like doing research in regards to why was that a thing. But it feels like a very matriarchal kind of energy that kind of comes through first, and then afterwards, like the patriarchal, right? Or just the male counterpart, right? They kind of follow suit. Okay. And it's very much loyal, very much along that lines. There's love here for sure. There's love here for sure. But it's this energy where it's just like it doesn't have to be anything other than what it is, right? So it's like we don't need the daffodils and the daisies, you know, like being sprinkled on the floor as you walk, right? It's like it really just kind of feels like it's simple. It's more stable. All right, so we'll take a little bit of a break and then we'll come back with the advice and spirit. All right, so let's see what we have here. What is the advice for earth signs? So that's Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo energy. So you guys have AWAs, and we're going to be using the runes for modern life. AWAs, so it says here horse, travel. So travel or a change of residence, as well as loyalty, trust, and teamwork are the dominant themes for this rune card, which is associated with the horse, a sacred animal in many ancient cultures. Just as the bond between rider and horse is based on faith, love, and trust, this rune card reminds you of the importance of these qualities for the key relationships in your life. The card can also apply to a work situation or project in your life that requires discipline, trust, and teamwork if there is to be any forward movement. If you want success, you need to dedicate yourself wholeheartedly. There are no half measures. Finally, the relationship in which this card could be turning the spotlight is the one you have with yourself. Do you trust yourself? Do you have absolute faith in yourself? If you don't, this card is urging you to focus your energy less on others and more on believing in yourself and believing and building up your self-confidence. Okay? All right, let's get into the crystal/gemstone cards. Oh, that came out pretty fast. So we have here Big Spite. So timing, action, and change. Timing is everything, and with Big Spite, that couldn't be truer. Big Spite has an impeccable knack for the right timing and can encourage you to try new things, pursue an opportunity, or change anything that needs an update. Big Spite opens the connection between your base chakras and your heart chakra and infuses you with unconditional love for yourself and others. Big Spite encourages energy expressed as action, movement, and progression to move toward true alignment between you and your soul. Update what's outdated with joy and recharge your life. Aries, Taurus, and Moon. All right, if you hear any noise in the background, I do apologize. That they are my kids. Okay, I gotta go because I feel like I'm about to throw up. So let's hurry up with this. I live and work in comfort and ease and beauty. Nice. My home is a reflection of me, and I choose to make it a wonderful place to live. Okay, so that is all that I have for you all earth signs out there. I hope I was able to help you out in any way, shape, or form. Good luck to you all on your amazing journeys. Until next time, peace.